Hi, my name is Yope. I'm the director of Smarter Parenting. Today I wanted to talk to you about setting rules that your children won't follow. You know, one of the most interesting things about working with families over time is that parents want to institute rules in their home, which is absolutely appropriate. But having their children comply with those rules or having them feel like they want to invest in obeying the rules, that's a whole different story. Now, I was working with a family who had this issue. It was a single mom working with her, and she had 3 children. And in working with them, she wanted to have very specific rules because of time constraints. So she would go to work and she would come home late in the afternoon, and she needed specific chores done before she got there, which is not uncommon for most families, in the United States or elsewhere. It's important for kids to follow the chores. And the kids would not follow the chores. They wouldn't follow the rules, and they didn't feel any motivation to follow the rules. So in working with them, I had to work with the mom first initially to define what are the very specific rules that she wanted the kids to follow. And that took some time because her rules were not as specific as they should be. There's a difference between having a rule of, come home and clean your room, and then her coming home and feeling like they didn't do the job that she wanted, and being very specific, like having, okay, I need you to fix your bed, I need you to pick up all the toys off the floor, I need you to hang up all your clothes, and then take your dirty clothes to the laundry. I mean, those are very specific things that you can measure, and you can tell if they're done or if they're not done. So we went through and defined all the rules first in the home. She had a list of about 25 rules that she wanted done in the home. And initially, in talking with her, I just let her know that it's pretty unrealistic to go through 25 rules for your children. So we decided to break it down. Initially start off with a few rules first, and we started off with 3. Okay, and this is based on the children's ability to comply with the rules, because we want the kids to be successful. We don't want to overwhelm them. At the same time, we want to challenge them. So we set up with 3 very specific rules that they were to follow. And with the children, though, incorporating them to buy into the rules. This is where the magic happened. In our family meeting, as we met, we went over each of the rules, and they were very descriptive. They knew exactly what needed to be done. Underneath each of the rules, we put down numbers 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you have 3 rules. Underneath each rule, it's numbered 1, 2, and 3 with blank spots, and then consequence is under there. So underneath each of the rules, we allowed the children to decide what a possible reward would be for completing the rule. So the first one was, okay, you need to come home and clean the dishes in the sink, and then empty the dishwasher. Simple rule. So the kids saw that and they said, okay. And to get their buy-in to obeying the rules, they had 3 options. And they could fill this out how they wanted, but we wanted it to be appropriate to the task, to the chore. And so they came up with 3 very specific rewards that they could receive. One was additional time, 30 more minutes to play with their friends, okay, past the time that mom wanted them to be home. So mom wanted them home at 6:30 for dinner. This would allow them 30 minutes more, okay. Another reward would be that they wouldn't have to do that very specific chore the next day. Okay, and then one other reward was that they could get a treat, so before bed, so a cookie or whatever they wanted, so they could choose. So from those 3 rewards, then mom, and this is the important part of this whole process, mom was able to determine what the consequence was if they did not follow through with the chore. Okay, so the kids didn't choose the consequence, but they were able to choose 3 options for a reward for completing the chore. Now, one thing that we paid close attention to was that the rewards didn't cost any additional money, okay? And they were things that could be done. They're very easy to comply with. They weren't too big for the task, all right? So we measured all those things to make them appropriate to the task. And what I found over time is that the kids and the mom were able to work together. They were able to complete those. The kids were motivated to do the chore because they were able to get one of 3 things if they were to comply. The mom felt more confident in her parenting skills because she was able to have a rule and have the kids follow the rule. And she had a consequence there as well that she could follow through with. She didn't have to think on the top of her head what to do. So before this time, if a kid didn't do a chore, I mean, she would do these consequences that were huge. And it's like, you know, you're going to be grounded for 3 weeks. And I mean, but those don't work. I mean, when we talk about consequences, you want to make it appropriate for the size of the behavior. And you don't want to do anything that actually puts you in a consequence as a parent. I mean, when you say you're grounded for 3 weeks, what you're really saying is, well, in order for this to really work, I'm grounded too, because I have to watch you be grounded. So we're both grounded, and it's just not effective, So again, this is a suggestion that you can use as a parent in working with your child and setting up rules that actually will work and get buy-in from your children. You set up a rule, you be very specific about the rule, you allow your children to determine 3 possible rewards and make them appropriate, and they don't have to cost money, and then the parent will set up a consequence and something that they can follow through with. Set it up for maybe 2 or 3 rules initially, and as they're able to master those, move on to additional rules. And over time, you'll see success in you and your children being able to work through things. So feel free to send us a comment or a message or any variation of this that you may use with your child. We'd be interested in learning more about what you're doing in order to help raise resilient, self-confident, and independent children.